Alright guys, today let me talk a little bit about what we call the linear programming. So linear programming actually it's associated with different decision making problems that the producers or even the consumers or the manufacturers to face given their limited resources. So we can define it something like it's the mathematical formulation of decision making problems in which the objective function which has to be optimized or it optimized means it has to be and the profit has to be maximized or the cost has to be minimized subject to some linear inequality constraints. That's a very important thing to remember. Anyway, it's concerned the linear programming is concerned with the different problems that the producers, manufacturers and even the consumers do face given their limited resources of how to when to not use them and how to make less use of the resources or with whatever they have with them and try to maximize their utility, optimize their objective function. It may be like maximizing their profit or minimizing their cost for the manufacturers or maybe for the individuals as well. So to understand this, let us go back to what we have the inequality constraints. Say for example, taking the help of this function 1. Now consumers, as we all know, they're always with the motive of maximizing their utility, right? So suppose we have a function like utility, suppose say u is equal to twice x square plus thrice y. Now subject to 4x plus 3y is equal to, always remember this is equal to, right? This is equal to 30. Say for example it's a budget line, right? Like the this we do it for solving in trying to find out how many amount of x or how many units of x and how many units of y you'll be consuming with the given your budget line. Now here it is assumed that in trying to maximize their utility, consumer will use up all his resources that he has with him. That means suppose say 4x plus 6y is equal to 30. That means suppose say 4 into 5 is equal to 20 plus suppose say some units of 6 some units of y which is equal to 10 and he will that is equal to 30 and he will totally use up what we call that is the budget that he has or that an individual has. So ultimately it is like a consumer, we are assuming like the consumer will totally use up whatever the resources that the individual has or the consumer has in trying to maximize his utility. Here the assumption is that, but for just for like a normal understanding, it is definitely not that whatever the income or whatever the amount of money that a consumer has, he will not use up everything. So in this case, like this equal to sign will be a little bit different. It may be less than or equal to. So anyway, to the assumption is such that in trying to maximize his utility, the consumer will try to use up or consumer will use up all the resources. That means the total amount of resources that he has is 30 units, right? This 30 units will be totally used up by the consumer in trying to maximize his utility. That is why we have this thing called the equal to sign in trying to consume this commodity X and commodity Y, right? But it is like I said, it is not so. A consumer will always try to make less. I mean, he will not definitely not want to use up all his income that is his 30 rupees in trying to maximize his utility. And of course this can be solved with the help of this. We have this um, popular way of solving this kind of budget line and the utility function equations with the help of substitution method, and the other one is the Lagrangian method. But where do we make use of this linear programming? The linear programming is such that the objective function is the same. Yes, suppose we take an example about a company trying to maximize its profit. Say for example a shoe manufacturing company or a company producing some maybe a Maruti company trying to produce two different type of vehicles, maybe Alto and the other one is supposed a Swift, right? This X is supposed a Alto and Y is supposed a Swift. So he wants to maximize his profit. That is his profit function equation. Now in trying to uh, maximize his profit, the company, suppose he has some 30 units of resources, or say some 30 units of only steel he has. All right. Now the company, what he does is, in trying to produce these two commodities X and Y, right? X is Alto, suppose say, and Y is Swift, right? In trying to manufacture these two different type of products, in trying to manufacture these two different type of products, say X and Y, Alto and the Swift, the producer, suppose he has only some 30 units of steel, right? Now the aim of the producer is always to make less use of the resources so that he can get more profits with the help of this given resources. That means say 30 tons of steel, suppose, right? Now he will always be in the motive of using it less than whatever he has. All right. So that's why, suppose say he uses some uh, 4x plus 5y. That means, suppose say, in for manufacturing this Alto, how many units of steel that he will be consuming, 4x plus and 5y, suppose say, the number of or the amount of steel, or how many tons of steel that the producer or the Maruti company will be using, is shown by this equation. That means he will try to make less use of the resources than whatever he has. That's why it is less than or equal to. That means he will not try to use up all the steel that he has. All right. A company will always try to uh, save his steel that he has with him, and that's why he will be wanting to make less use of whatever steel, or the whatever amount or the tons of steel that he has. He would like to save some more of it. Then only he will be able to maximize his profit, a Maruti company, right? So that is why we have this thing called the less than or equal to sign. He may not use up all of the steel, okay? If he has 30 units of steel, he will not want to use up all these 30 units of steel. He will make, in trying to produce these two units or two different type of products, he might want to use only some, suppose say 25. Suppose say here he uses only 25 units of steel in trying to in producing this two different type of Alto and Swift. He will use up only, suppose say, 25 tons of steel. So then definitely it will be less than or equal to, right? So it become, if he uses 25, only 25 tons of steel, then it is definitely less than 30. This whole function is 4x plus 5y is only, suppose say, 25. The amount of total amount of steel that you have is some 30. So definitely it should be less than or equal to, and the company always here has this motive of trying to maximize their profit by making less use of the resources than whatever they have. So that's why it is always less than or equal to. All right. So because, as we all know, the resources are always limited, and the companies or the producers are always in the motive of trying to save the resources whatever they have, and of course maximize their profit, right? Anyway, so this linear programming, after the formulation with the given the informations about what the mathematical things, whatever the information that we are given with generally there are two methods of techniques of solving this linear programming. One is the graphical method, by using graph and finding the basic feasible solution and on. We do that, and the other one is the most used technique of solving this linear programming, that is the simplex method. Here in simplex method there is some kind of mathematical manipulations that we generally need to do. So I will talk about this simplex method in my uh, next lecture. So that's all for today again now. Okay guys, thank you.